When the Mafia boss pointed at the woman he once loved and snarled, "That's not my child," he didn't know he was condemning the only heir he would ever have. Because the one truth buried in his medical files was this: Gabrielle Anio had been infertile his entire life. And the miracle growing inside her was impossible, except that it wasn't. Welcome to Roses and Revolvers, where every story leaves a scar. If stories like this keep you on the edge of your seat, hit subscribe and comment where you are watching from, because the next one might be even darker. Gabrielle Anio built his empire on 3 iron laws. 1. Blood is a liability. 2. Emotion is a weapon your enemies will use against you. 3. Never let anyone close enough to betray you. But the moment Rosita Falassi walked back into his study, all 3 laws crumbled like ash. She stood in the arched doorway of his private office, silhouetted against the amber glow of the Tuscan sunset beyond the windows, a place where silence meant power and Gabrielle held absolute reign. Her dark hair fell in soft waves over her shoulders. Her eyes, those eyes that once softened his coldest nights, were rimmed with exhaustion. Her hands rested protectively over the unmistakable curve beneath the deep red fabric of her dress. "Gabrielle," she whispered. His world stopped. 7 months. 7 months since she'd vanished from his bed, from his life, from his city without a word. 7 months since she left him with nothing but unanswered questions and a fury that had turned to ice in his veins. He forced his voice to remain steady, lethal. "You have 10 seconds to tell me why you're standing in my house." Rosita's breath trembled. "I didn't know where else to go. You shouldn't have come here at all." Her eyes filled with something fragile, something that looked dangerously like hope. "I know, but you need to see this." She stepped forward, pulling a folded piece of paper from the small purse at her side. An ultrasound. Black and white, blurred at the edges, unmistakable. A baby. Gabrielle's chest constricted. No, it couldn't be. "Rosita," he said slowly, his voice a blade wrapped in silk. "What is this?" Her lips parted. Her voice cracked. "I'm pregnant, Gabrielle. And it's yours." The room went dead silent. Gabrielle stared at the image in her trembling hands, then at her, then back at the tiny shape curled on the glossy paper. His pulse pounded in his ears. His vision narrowed. His breath came sharp and jagged. He felt something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in over a decade: fear. Not of the child. Not of responsibility. Not of fatherhood. But of deception. "Rosita," he said, his voice dangerously quiet. "Don't lie to me." "I'm not lying." He rose abruptly, his chair scraping violently against the marble floor. "You disappeared for 7 months. You severed every connection. You ran from me. And now you walk back into my life with this." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I didn't run from you, Gabrielle. I ran from—" "Don't." He cut her off like a whip crack. "Don't insult my intelligence." She flinched. Gabrielle snatched the ultrasound from her shaking hands. He stared at the grainy outline, the small curve of a skull, the flutter that the technician had marked as a heartbeat. His stomach twisted. Then rage, white-hot and absolute, consumed everything. "This isn't mine." Rosita's breath caught. "Gabrielle, you betrayed me." His voice was a growl now, barely human. "You think you can trap me with another man's bastard?" Her voice shattered. "I would never." He tore the ultrasound in half. Rosita gasped, her hand flying to her mouth as a sob tore through her chest. "Get out," Gabrielle said, cold as winter stone. "Before I forget you were ever anything to me." She stumbled backward, trembling, tears streaming, and fled the room. Gabrielle stood alone in the silence, chest heaving, fists clenched so tight his knuckles turned white. He didn't know why his hands were shaking. He didn't know why the image of her rounded belly made something inside him crack. He didn't know why the thought of her carrying another man's child felt like a blade twisting slowly through his ribs. He only knew one thing. He had just made the worst mistake of his life. Rosita's heels echoed against the cold marble like a countdown to execution. She shouldn't be here. She knew that. But the alternative, raising Gabrielle's child in hiding, always looking over her shoulder, was worse than any fate he could deliver. The double doors to his private study swung open before she could knock. Marco, Gabrielle's right hand, stood there with dead eyes. He's waiting. Her stomach dropped. Gabrielle sat behind his desk like a king on a throne of blood and secrets. The city glittered behind him through floor-to-ceiling windows, his kingdom, his empire, his world where mercy didn't exist. He didn't look up, didn't acknowledge her presence, just kept signing documents with surgical precision. The silence stretched until Rosita thought she might shatter. Finally, he spoke. 7 months. His voice was ice wrapped in venom. You had 7 months to come up with a believable story. Let's hear it. Gabrielle, please. Don't star. He slammed his pen down so hard it cracked against the mahogany. Don't say my name like you have the right. Tears burned behind her eyes. I was protecting. Protecting what? He stood, and the room seemed to shrink around his rage. You think I'm stupid? You vanish. My enemies start circling like sharks. And now you show up pregnant, playing the victim. It's yours, she cried. He laughed, cold, bitter, devastating. Impossible. Rosita's hand trembled as she reached into her purse. I have proof. I don't care what fake documents you bought. He rounded the desk like a predator. I know what I am. I've known since I was 19. I cannot have children. The ultrasound slipped from her fingers. Gabrielle's eyes tracked its fall. And that's when the red laser dot appeared on Rosita's chest. Down, Marco roared. The window exploded. Glass rained down like frozen tears. Gabrielle's body slammed into Rosita's, driving her to the floor as bullets chewed through the space where she'd stood. The ultrasound photo skittered across blood-speckled marble. Stay down. He barked, his weight crushing her, protective despite the hatred in his voice moments before. Marco returned fire through the shattered window. 3 shots. Precise. Deadly. Then silence. Gabrielle lifted his head, scanning the darkness beyond the broken glass. The shooter was gone. Professional. A message, not a murder. He looked down at Rosita beneath him, trembling, her hands still cradling her stomach. Something twisted in his chest, something he crushed immediately. He stood, pulling her up roughly. You brought them here. I didn't, I swear. Your enemies or mine? He grabbed her shoulders, shaking her. Who sent you? The Marcellos? The Russians? No one sent me. Tears streamed down her face. Gabrielle, please, just listen. His eyes fell on the ultrasound, now torn and blood-stained on the floor. He released her, walked to it, stared at the tiny shape barely visible through the damage. Then he picked it up and ripped it apart completely, piece by piece. Methodical. Final. Rosita's sob echoed like a death rattle. You've destroyed yourself coming here, Gabrielle said quietly, dangerously. Whatever game you're playing, whatever lie you're selling, it ends now. He turned to Marco. Remove her. Permanently from the city. I don't care where. Gabrielle, her voice broke on his name. You don't exist to me anymore. He didn't look at her. Couldn't. If I see you again, I'll assume you're working for my enemies. And I'll treat you accordingly. Marco's hand closed around her arm. As they dragged her toward the door, Rosita screamed, He's going to kill us both. Your son and me because you're too proud to see the truth. The door slammed. Gabriel stood alone among shattered glass and scattered evidence. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. A single message. The Moretti miracle is mine now. You had your chance. See, His blood turned to ice. Gabriel stared at the message until his vision blurred. See, Cashin Ward. The ghost. The mercenary who didn't just kill targets, he collected them like trophies. His phone rang. Dr. Crane. The family physician who delivered Gabrielle's infertility diagnosis 15 years ago. Not now, Gabrielle growled. It's about the woman. Crane's voice trembled. Rosita Falassi. I need to see you. Immediately. Something in the old man's tone made Gabrielle's instincts scream. Talk. Not over the phone. Your office. 10 minutes. The line went dead. Dr. Crane arrived in 8, his face ashen, clutching a medical file like it might explode. You have 5 seconds, Gabrielle said. Crane's hands shook as he opened the file. When you were 19, I diagnosed you with complete infertility. Congenital bilateral vas deferens absence. No surgical fix. No possibility of biological children. I know this. I was wrong. The words came out like a confession at gunpoint. The room tilted. What? Crane pulled out a report dated 3 months ago. Your last executive physical. I ran extended panels. There was an anomaly I didn't understand, so I sent samples to a specialist in Geneva. He slid a document across the desk. Gabrielle's eyes couldn't focus on the words. Couldn't process what he was seeing. Mosaic genetics, Crane whispered. 1 in 10 million. Your reproductive cells, a small percentage, they're viable. You're not sterile, Gabrielle. You're nearly impossible. But not impossible. The floor dropped out from under him. The child. If Rosita Falassi is pregnant, Crane said, his voice breaking, and if you were intimate with her in the time frame she described, then yes. Biologically, genetically, mathematically, that child is yours. Your only possible heir. Gabrielle's hand slammed down, cracking the desk. Asterisk, where is she? Asterisk. I don't. His phone buzzed again. A photo this time. Rosita, unconscious, zip-tied in the back of a van. The message beneath, TikTok, Papa. Cashin Ward didn't believe in mercy, only opportunities. And Rosita Falassi, stumbling out of the Anio Manor with mascara-streaked cheeks and a belly full of Gabrielle's miracle, was the biggest opportunity of his career. He watched from across the street, engine idling, as Marco shoved her into a black sedan. Watched her press her face against the window, looking back at the fortress she'd just been exiled from. Pathetic. Beautiful. Valuable. His earpiece crackled. Target acquired. What's the play? Cashin lit a cigarette, smoke curling against the windshield. Follow at distance. She's no good to us, Dad. And if Anio's men are tailing her? They won't be. Cashin smiled, cold and knowing. He thinks she's a liar. He'll have Marco dump her at a train station with enough cash to disappear. Guilt money. How do you know? Because that's what men like Gabrielle Anio do when they're too proud to admit they still care. He was right. 20 minutes later, Marco pulled up to Verona Central Station, handed Rosita an envelope, and drove away without a word. She stood there, shaking, one hand on her stomach, the other clutching the money like it might save her. It wouldn't. Cashin waited until she entered the station. Waited until she bought a ticket to Florence. Waited until she sat on a bench, sobbing into her hands, completely alone. Then he made the call. She's moving. Florence bound. I want a clean intercept, no witnesses, no blood. We need her cooperative. And the Anio heir? Cashin's eyes glittered. That baby is worth more than Gabrielle's entire empire. Alive, it's leverage. A future king we can control. He exhaled smoke. Dead? It's just revenge. The line clicked off. Cashin crushed his cigarette and started the engine. Across the platform, Rosita's train pulled in. She stood, wiping her tears, unaware of the 3 men in dark coats boarding behind her. Unaware that the moment she stepped onto that train, she'd already lost. His phone buzzed, a message from his client, the Marcello family. Bring us the Anio heir. Alive. Do whatever it takes. Cashin's grin widened. Whatever it takes. Most people who find this channel don't realize what they're about to get pulled into. Subscribe now before you miss the next story. Let's continue. Gabrielle Anio had never begged for anything in his life. Until tonight. I don't care what it costs, he snarled into the phone, pacing his shattered office like a caged animal. Traffic cams, facial recognition, train manifests, asterisk everything star. Find her. The police commissioner's voice crackled back, nervous. Mr. Anio, with respect, the woman left voluntarily. She's carrying my child. The words tore out of him, raw and desperate. And if Cashin Ward gets to her first, we'll be scraping what's left off warehouse walls. Silence. Then, I'll mobilize every unit. Gabrielle hung up and immediately dialed again. And again. And again. The Russian arms dealer who owed him blood. The Corsican hacker who'd sworn a life debt. The corrupt railway director whose daughter Gabrielle had saved from a kidnapping. Every favor. Every connection. Every fragment of power he'd spent decades building, burned in a single hour for a woman he'd thrown away and a child he'd called a lie. Marco burst through the door. We tracked her to Verona Central. She bought a ticket to Florence, departed 23 minutes ago. Stop the train. Boss, we can't just. Asterisk stop. The train. Asterisk. Gabrielle's voice was apocalyptic. Derail it if you have to. I want her off that train before Cashin's men reach her. Marco's phone buzzed. His face went white. What? Marco turned the screen. Security footage. Platform 7. Timestamp, 18 minutes ago. Rosita boarding. Alone. Then, 3 frames later, 3 men in dark coats. Tactical boots. Dead eyes. Boarding the same car. No, Gabrielle whispered. Marco zoomed in on the lead man's wrist. A tattoo. A serpent eating its own tail. Cashin's signature. They're already on her. Gabrielle's fist slammed into the wall, cracking plaster. How long until the train stops? Florence Station. 42 minutes. She doesn't have 42 minutes. Gabrielle grabbed his coat, his gun, his keys. Get the helicopter. Now. Boss, even if we intercept. Gabrielle's phone lit up. Incoming call. Unknown number. He answered. Cashin's voice slithered through the speaker, smooth as poison. Hello, Gabrielle. Enjoying fatherhood yet? Background noise, train wheels on tracks, muffled crying. Rosita. If you touch her, you'll what? Cashin laughed. You threw her away, remember? Called her a liar. Ripped up the proof. She's mine now. Her and that impossible little miracle in her belly. Gabrielle's hand shook so hard he nearly dropped the phone. What do you want? Everything you have. Your territory. Your contacts. Your empire. A pause, cruel and deliberate. Or I start cutting pieces off her and you can listen. The line went dead. Then a text. A live video feed. Rosita, bound to a train seat, duct tape across her mouth, eyes wide with terror. And Cashin, leaning close, whispering something that made her scream behind the gag. The timestamp, live. Rosita's eyes snapped open to unfamiliar ceiling beams and the smell of dust. Where? Memory crashed back. The train. The men. The needle in her neck. Panic seized her chest. Her hands flew to her stomach, still rounded, still whole. The baby. Oh God, the baby. Easy. A soft voice. Female. Rosita's head whipped sideways. A woman sat in the corner, early 30s, dark curls, kind eyes that didn't match the gun on her lap. Who? Leora. Friend of your cousin in Napoli. She moved closer, hands visible, non-threatening. Marco called in a favor. Got you off that train before Cashin's men could move you. Rosita's throat closed. Gabrielle sent you? If you made it this far, you're not just watching, you're part of this story now. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Leora's expression flickered, something between pity and anger. No. Marco did. Against orders. The words hit like a slap. He still didn't want her. Even now. Where are we? Safe house. 20 kilometers outside Florence. No one knows where. Creak. Both women froze. The sound came from downstairs. Floorboards settling. Old house noises. Except Leora's face had gone white. "That's not the house," she whispered. She stood, gun raised, moving to the door with practiced silence. Rosita struggled upright, her pregnant body clumsy, terrified. Another sound. Closer. Boots. Multiple pairs. Tactical. Deliberate. "They found us," Leora breathed. She spun, grabbing Rosita's arm. "Bathroom. Now." "Window escape." "I can't climb." "You'll die if you don't." They ran. The door exploded inward. Two men, black masks, suppressed weapons, flooded the room. Leora fired twice, dropping one, but the second was faster. His bullet caught her in the shoulder. She went down screaming. Rosita stumbled into the bathroom, slamming the door, locking it with shaking hands. The window small, high, impossible. She grabbed the toilet lid, smashed it against the glass. Behind her, fists pounded the door. Asterisk Rosita Falassi, asterisk a voice, cold and professional. "Not Cashin. Someone worse. Open the door or we breach. You have 3 seconds." She looked at the window. Broken glass. 2-story drop. Her hand pressed against her belly. Asterisk I'm sorry, baby. "I'm so sorry, asterisk." 1. She climbed onto the toilet seat. 2. She pushed her legs through the window frame, glass cutting her palms. THR. The door exploded. Rosita dropped. She hit the ground hard, something in her ankle snapping, white-hot pain shooting up her leg. She screamed, biting it back, crawling toward the tree line. Behind her, shouting. Footsteps on stairs. She crawled faster, dirt under her nails, tears streaming. A hand grabbed her hair, yanked her backward. She looked up into a face she didn't recognize, scarred, empty, professional. "Got her," he said into his radio. Then static crackled back, "Good. Cashin wants her bleeding when Anio arrives." The man smiled and pulled out a knife. The helicopter blades hadn't even stopped spinning when Gabrielle jumped, boots hitting gravel like thunder. Marco was right behind him, barking coordinates into his radio. "Secure the perimeter. No one leaves alive unless I say so." The safe house burned in the distance, black smoke pouring from shattered windows, the fire deliberate, a message written in ash. Gabrielle's heart stopped. Asterisk no. No, she can't be asterisk. "Boss." One of his men emerged from the tree line, half carrying Leora, blood soaking her shoulder. "She's alive." "Barely." Gabrielle grabbed her by the collar. "Where is she?" Leora coughed blood. "They took her. 15, maybe 20 minutes ago. Black van." "I tried," her voice broke. "I tried to stop them." "Which direction?" She pointed east with a shaking hand. "Warehouse district. Pier 9. He wanted you to know." Gabrielle released her, already moving, but Marco caught his arm. "It's a trap." "I don't care. He'll kill you both. Then I'll die knowing I tried." Gabrielle ripped free, but his phone buzzed before he could run. "Video call. Unknown number." He answered. Cashin's face filled the screen, backlit by harsh fluorescent lights. Behind him, Rosita, zip-tied to a metal chair, tape across her mouth, bruises blooming on her cheekbone. Alive. She was alive. "Gabrielle." Cashin's smile was surgical. "So glad you could join us." "Well, virtually anyway." "Let her go." "Why would I do that?" Cashin circled Rosita like a shark. "Do you know what you're carrying here, Anio? Not just a woman. Not just a child." He leaned close to Rosita's stomach, his voice dropping to reverence. "A miracle. The only biological heir to the Anio Empire. Worth more than every euro you've ever made." Gabrielle's gun hand trembled. "Name your price." "Oh, it's not money I want." Cashin pulled out a syringe, amber liquid gleaming. "It's time." "What?" "You see, the Marcellos hired me to bring them leverage. I could kill her. Kill the baby. But where's the profit?" He tapped the syringe against Rosita's neck. She whimpered, trying to pull away. "So here's my offer. You sign over 60% of your territories, your ports, your distribution networks, and I let her deliver this miracle safely. You're insane. Or, Cashin pressed the needle against Rosita's throat. I inject her with this. Induce labor. At 6 months. And we see if your little genetic anomaly is strong enough to survive premature birth in a warehouse with no medical equipment. Rosita's scream was muffled but piercing. Stop. Gabrielle roared. Tick-tock, Papa. What's it worth? Your empire. Cashin's thumb hovered over the plunger. Or your son. The needle broke skin. A single drop of blood ran down Rosita's neck. Wait. Gabrielle's voice shattered. I'll give you everything. Everything. Just don't. Cashin paused. Everything. Yes. Say it clearly. For the recording. Gabrielle's jaw clenched, every word costing him a piece of his soul. I, Gabrielle Anio, surrender 60% of my holdings to Cashin Ward in exchange for the safe release of Rosita Falassi and my unborn child. Cashin grinned. See? That wasn't so hard. He withdrew the needle. Rosita sobbed with relief. Now here's the fun part, Cashin continued. You have 1 hour to arrive at Pier 9. Alone. Unarmed. Sign the papers in person. Anything less, he pressed the syringe against his palm, demonstrating. And I start the injection. Understand? I understand. Oh, and Gabrielle? Cashin's eyes glittered with malice. If I even smell Marco or your men within a kilometer, I don't kill her. I let my crew have some fun first. You know what 20 minutes with 5 men can do to a pregnant woman. The screen went black. Gabrielle stood frozen, the phone trembling in his hand. Marco's voice cut through the silence. You're not actually going. Gabrielle looked at him, and for the first time in 15 years, Marco saw real fear in his boss's eyes. I don't have a choice. He'll kill you the moment you sign. Probably. Gabrielle checked his gun. Checked his backup. Checked the blade in his boot. But if there's even a 1% chance she walks out of there alive, I'm taking it. He started walking toward the helicopter. Marco grabbed his shoulder one last time. This is suicide. Gabrielle didn't turn around. Then tell them I died for something that mattered. Marco watched Gabrielle walk toward certain death and made a choice that would either save them all or end everything. He pulled out his secondary phone. The one Gabrielle didn't know about. Nina, his voice was steel. I need a miracle. On the other end, the hacker who'd gotten them out of 12 impossible situations went silent. Then, Marco, if this is about. Cashin Ward has Rosita Falassi at Pier 9. Gabrielle's walking into an execution in 47 minutes. I need eyes, exits, and enemy positions. Now. Keys clattered in the background. That's a suicide run. I know. Cashin doesn't leave witnesses. I know. Marco's jaw clenched. Can you crack the warehouse cameras or not? Already in. Sending feeds now. Marco's phone lit up. Grainy security footage, 8 different angles. His blood went cold. Rosita, still tied to the chair, but now surrounded by 12 armed men. Not 3. Not 5. 12. Cashin stood behind her, that syringe still in hand, explaining something to his crew with casual gestures, like he was discussing dinner plans, not torture. Jesus, Nina breathed. Marco, even if Gabrielle brings an army, he's going alone. He ordered it. Then he's a dead man. Unless we get there first. Marco was already moving, snapping orders to the 6 men who'd stayed behind. Nina, how long do we have before Gabrielle arrives? At current speed? 38 minutes. And how long to get our team into position without triggering Cashin's perimeter alarms? Silence. Calculations. 42 minutes. You'd need to leave now and you'd still be 4 minutes late. Marco's fist slammed the vehicle hood. Impossible. The math didn't work. They couldn't beat Gabrielle there, couldn't set up an ambush, couldn't. His phone buzzed. Nina again. Wait. There's a thermal signature. Northwest corner of the warehouse. Separate from the main group. Marco zoomed in on the feed. A figure. Alone. Small. Moving. Is that? Access tunnel, Nina confirmed. Old smuggling route from Prohibition era. If someone inside knew about it, they could've. Leora. Marco's eyes widened. She worked these docks 15 years ago. She knows that warehouse. You think she got out? I think she's still inside. Marco's mind raced. Can you get me a direct line to that tunnel? If someone's down there with a phone, maybe, but... Do it. 90 seconds of agonizing silence. Then static. Breathing. A female voice, weak but defiant. Marco, Leora. Are you? Shoulders destroyed, but I'm mobile. I crawled into the tunnels before they torched the house. Can you see Rosita? Grade above me. Main floor. She's there. So is Cashin and half a damn army. Marco checked his watch. 34 minutes. Can you get to her? Not without getting shot. But Leora's voice strengthened. I can create a distraction. Give Gabrielle a window. Leora, you're half dead. So I've got nothing to lose. A bitter laugh. What's the plan? Marco looked at his men. 6 soldiers against 12. Impossible odds. Unless... Nina, can you kill the lights in that warehouse on my signal? For 60 seconds, max. Then backup generators kick in. 60 seconds is all we need. Marco turned to his team. Here's what we're doing. Leora creates chaos from below. Nina cuts the power. We breach during the blackout, extract Rosita, and get out before Cashin knows what hit him. One of his men spoke up, hesitant. Boss, if Gabrielle finds out we disobeyed. If Gabrielle dies because we obeyed, I'll never forgive myself. Marco chambered around. Move out. We've got 31 minutes to save 2 lives. They ran. 28 minutes later, Marco's team crouched in position outside Pier 9, watching through scopes as Gabrielle's car pulled up alone as ordered. Gabrielle stepped out. Unarmed. Hands visible. Walking toward the warehouse doors like a man approaching the gallows. Marco's finger hovered over his radio. Leora, you in position? Affirmative. Charges set on the southeast support beam. Say the word and this place becomes a panic room. Nina? Power grid accessed. Ready to drop on your mark. Marco watched Gabrielle reach the entrance. Watched the doors open. Watched him disappear inside. Into the trap. All units, Marco whispered. 60-second countdown starts the moment I give the signal. We get 1 shot at this. Make it count. Through a scope, he saw movement inside. Cashin, stepping forward to greet Gabrielle with a smile and a handshake. And behind him Rosita, looking up, hope and terror warring in her eyes as she saw the man who'd thrown her away now walking into hell to save her. Cashin raised the syringe where Gabrielle could see it. A reminder. A threat. Now, Marco hissed. The lights died. Explosions rocked the warehouse. All hell broke loose. And in the darkness, Gabrielle made his move. Darkness swallowed everything. Then, Chaos Star. Gunfire erupted like fireworks, muzzle flashes painting the warehouse in strobe light horror. Men screamed. Orders collided. Cashin's voice cut through the madness. Find them. They're here, But Gabrielle was already moving. The moment the lights died, he dropped, rolled left, and come up with the backup pistol Marco had hidden in the car against orders. Because Marco knew. Marco always knew. Gabrielle's eyes adjusted fast, years of surviving ambushes, betrayals, wars fought in shadows. He saw her. Rosita, still bound to the chair, head whipping side to side in terror as bullets chewed through the air around her. 20 feet. That's all that separated them. 20 feet and 11 armed men. Gabrielle dropped 3 before they even registered his position. Headshots. Clean. Professional. Then someone tackled him from behind. They hit concrete hard, Gabrielle's gun skittering away. Fists rained down, brutal, trained, merciless. He blocked, countered, drove his elbow into a throat. Felt cartilage collapse. The man fell away choking. Gabriel scrambled for his weapon. And froze. Cassian stood over Rosita, that syringe pressed against her neck, his other hand tangled in her hair, yanking her head back. Asterisk lights. Asterisk, Cassian screamed. Emergency generators kicked in. Harsh fluorescence flooded the warehouse, revealing the carnage. 8 of Cassian's men down, Marco's team breaching from the north entrance, Leora crawling from a tunnel grate with a detonator in her bloody hand. And Gabriel on his knees, gun aimed at Cassian's head. Mexican standoff. Drop it, Cassian said calmly, or I push the plunger. 10 seconds to forced labor. You want to watch your son die on a warehouse floor. Gabrielle's hand shook. You'll never leave here alive. Neither will she. Cassian's thumb caressed the syringe. So what's it worth, Papa? Your pride? Or your bloodline? Rosita's eyes locked on Gabrielle's, and in them, he saw something that shattered him. Forgiveness. After everything he'd done. Every word. Every cruelty. She was forgiving him. I'm sorry, Gabrielle whispered. Not to Cassian. To her. And he dropped the gun. Cassian smiled. Smart. The shot came from nowhere. Cassian's shoulder exploded, the syringe flying from his hand, shattering against concrete. He spun, roaring, and Gabrielle saw her. Leora, half dead, arm trembling, smoke rising from the pistol she'd somehow fired with a destroyed shoulder. Asterisk run, asterisk, she screamed. Gabrielle lunged forward, ripping the zip ties from Rosita's wrists with his bare hands. She collapsed into him, and he caught them, his arm wrapping protectively around her and the life they'd made. Cassian recovered fast, gun rising. Marco's shot took him in the leg. He went down. But even falling, even bleeding, Cassian was laughing. Asterisk, you think this is over? Asterisk. Gabrielle pulled Rosita toward the exit, but Cassian's voice followed like a curse. The Marcellos know. They know about the heir. Every family from here to Sicily knows Gabriel Anio has a weakness now. Blood bubbled from his lips. You'll spend the rest of your life protecting that child. And the moment you slip, someone will take everything from you. Gabrielle stopped. Turned. Walked back. Cassian grinned up at him. Go ahead. Kill me. It changes nothing. Gabriel raised his gun. Rosita's hand caught his wrist. Don't. He tried to kill our son. And if you murder him in front of me, what lesson does that teach? Her voice broke. What kind of father, what kind of man do you want to be? The gun wavered. Cassian laughed harder. Listen to her, Anio. Be the good guy. Let me live. I'm sure that'll. Gabrielle pistol whipped him unconscious mid-sentence. He turned to Marco. Burn this place. Disappear the bodies. Cassian wakes up in a Turkish prison with no memory of how he got there. And the Marcellos? Gabrielle looked at Rosita, bruised, exhausted, alive, and something fundamental shifted in his chest. Let them come. He lifted her into his arms, cradling her and their miracle against his chest. I'm done running from my own heart. 3 months later. Rosita sat in the private hospital suite, monitors beeping steadily, Gabrielle's hand crushing hers as contractions hit like earthquakes. You're doing perfectly, the doctor said. One more push. She screamed. And then, a cry. Sharp. Furious. Alive. It's a boy. Gabrielle's knees nearly buckled. The doctor placed the infant in Rosita's arms, tiny, red-faced, impossibly perfect. Their son. His heir. His miracle. What do we name him? Rosita whispered, tears streaming. Gabrielle touched the baby's hand, and impossibly small fingers wrapped around his. Dante, he said softly. It means enduring. Because they had. Against everything. Rosita smiled. Then her eyes went wide. Gabrielle followed her gaze to the hospital room door. It was open. And standing in the hallway, watching through the window with cold, calculating eyes, was a man in a Marcello family suit. He met Gabrielle's stare, smiled, and walked away. The war had just begun.